Something allegedly happened on the set of The Cleaning Lady that didn't stay behind the scenes. It moved into police reports, therapy records, medical evaluations, ultimately into a criminal complaint that led to the arrest of actor and director Timothy Busfield. And today we're walking through those filings, what detectives documented, what prosecutors argued, and how the case is unfolding in court so far. And you're going to want to stay put because the filings contain shocking allegations leading to a surrender that actually involved U.S. Marshals. Viewer discretion is advised. If you would like to stay updated on cases like this, liking and subscribing helps me cover these documents in real time. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and, if you're familiar with the case, what you think about the allegations so far. Timothy Busfield has been in the entertainment industry for decades. You may know him from The West Wing, 30-something, or from movies like Field of Dreams, or as Poindexter in Revenge of the Nerds, and most recently on The Cleaning Lady, as a director, executive producer, and occasionally has an on-screen presence. He's married to actress Melissa Gilbert, whom he met in 2012. Gilbert is also a former president of Screen Actors Guild, or SAG, and is known for her advocacy around child actor protections and on-set safety. Remember those details as we discuss this case. There have been prior allegations involving Busfield, which detectives from this case reviewed as part of their investigation and which we will definitely get into as we move through the video. I have the arrest warrant on screen. It is quite illuminating if true, so I will do my best to summarize it. An APD detective trained in exploitation and felony warrants was assigned to investigate the allegations involving the minors. A different officer was assigned to do a preliminary investigation, at which time the boys' parents said that they worked on The Cleaning Lady and had heard rumors about the director being handsy and inappropriate. When asked if anyone touched them, the boys said, "Oh, you mean Uncle Tim?" On October 3rd, the Crimes Against Children's Unit initially declined the case. Later, SL would disclose Timothy did indeed touch him inappropriately. The investigator did an interview with his parents, and an SL confirmed to both his therapist and pediatrician that Busfield had touched him inappropriately. The investigator discussed the therapist records, and he disclosed being touched on his arm, chest, back, and then later disclosed that it was also his private area and described nightmares, and said that the director had rubbed him 3 to 4 times. Pediatrics confirmed that SL and VL were groomed and touched between 2023 and 2024. SL has PTSD, anxiety, and behavioral issues. In October of 25, SL told the interviewer that Tim had touched him while he was on a movie set. He said it had happened when he was 7, and the parents no longer had access to an iPad. And when the director, Busfield, would say cut, he would come into the bedroom on the movie set and touch him inappropriately. He provided a drawing to show that this would happen in the bed of the movie set. And he says that he was afraid to tell anyone because the director was doing it and he feared that the director would get mad at him. And then the investigator interviewed VL, the brother. VL said that Mr. Tim touched both boys during the first 2 years of filming, and that he also didn't speak up because he didn't want to be mean or get in trouble. And the parents say, yes, we used to get iPads to monitor filming, but that all stopped when Busfield began directing. A parent noticed SL's discomfort, including during a live photo of Timothy caressing SL's head. So at that point, they interview Busfield. After being read his Miranda rights, he confirmed that he did begin directing the show in season 2 in 2022. He said the kids were never alone and that he didn't really like the iPads. It wasn't standard and they don't encourage it. He also said the boys were eventually let go and replaced by a younger child who I hope somebody has interviewed. Anyway, he says that the mom of SL wanted revenge and noted that Warner Brothers had already done an investigation around April. He said that the lead actress, Elodie Young, had told him about the revenge that the mom said she wanted. He described the bedroom setting, and the detective asked if he ever picked up the boys and tickled them. Busfield told them it was highly likely he would have tickled him. It was a playful environment, and that the dad would make SL and BL hug him, and he didn't really want to. When asked about touching children and the protocol, Busfield said, quote, "It's not allowed at all. There's no protocol. I mean, I'm always around people, right? It would be, in front of the parents. There would never be a weird moment about it. I don't really remember picking these boys up. I remember picking up the boy who followed them. I'd pick him up. He'd be giggling, and that would sort of get him ready to act. Busfield said, I don't remember those boys. No, I don't. I don't actually. I don't remember it. If it happened, I don't remember overtly tickling the boys ever, but it wouldn't be uncommon for me. He also talked about having a relationship with the boys outside of work, getting them Christmas gifts. The detective interviews Elodie, who declined to participate, and said she would not have any information that could assist in the case. So then they interview a PA on the set of The Cleaning Lady on November of 2025. She remembered the child actors, especially SL, and was familiar with the rules that pertain to child actors. The child should have a set teacher who would watch children and advocate for them. SL's set teacher, Lee, would lose track of the children, gave examples, and said that she noticed the boys who were once very happy and bubbly towards the end of season 2, around when Busfield came in, started acting difficult and just weren't happy. When asked about touching, Taylor said that was not allowed, very unprofessional, and remembered Busfield being very touchy with certain people. He interviews another PA with a similar name, but a different one. She remembers the boys and the room they were filming in, and doesn't remember if Busfield was alone in there with them, but advised it could have been possible because the set teacher was just all over the place, hanging out, doing whatever. This teacher was older and didn't keep a super close eye on the kids. This PA also confirmed that SL became withdrawn at the end of season 2 when Busfield arrived. Which brings us to the teacher. This interview occurred about a week after, and Lee said SL became emotional and withdrawn. She said she would sometimes monitor the children while on set if it was like a dangerous situation or something, but otherwise would hang out in a room by the first team where there were no monitors. When asked if something stuck out, she mentioned that SL was very enthusiastic at a certain point. That changed and didn't want to be on set. He was withdrawn, had his head down in the schoolroom or the table behind the set. It was pretty clear that there was a change in the boy. The detective wrote a search warrant for Warner Brothers, and at this point we have a lot of back and forth between Warner Brothers' attorney and himself. Warner Brothers was hesitant, cited privilege, and then eventually did release something. It is December 31st when the detective received this information, but the document was prepared in March, and that document noted that in February there was an anonymous complaint made through the SAG-AFTRA hotline about something that the whistleblower saw in December of 24. They witnessed an incident in the hair and makeup trailer in which Busfield entered, kissed a minor on the face, and did so while he was getting a haircut. The complainant also says there's pictures of Busfield tickling and caressing the head of minor boys. Elodie Young did speak with this investigator, and this is when she cited that the parents were looking for revenge because she was told that by the mother. The investigator wasn't able to speak with anyone that would support any evidence that Busfield engaged in this behavior, which is when the detective reached out to other actors, other crew, and attempted to get more information, and received an email from one of those parties' attorneys who said, you need to contact me before you contact anybody else in this company or in the crew or cast. On the same day, he interviewed a hair and makeup artist, and the makeup artist claims that she had been contacted by the investigators, knew that there was a search for information being done by Warner Brothers regarding Busfield's misconduct. That person said she saw him kissed 2 child actors on the forehead, and parents were present but seemingly unaware of boundaries. And she said everyone knew to avoid Busfield because he was creepy. Finally, he reached out to another makeup artist who was hesitant to talk and did not share or act as if she had any knowledge of any inappropriate behavior. The detective notes that Warner Brothers made it very difficult to obtain information for this case and waited almost 3 months to comply with a court order to produce the independent investigation. Warner Brothers advised them that, hey, you need to go through this attorney first, when what the detective was trying to do is simply ensure the safety of additional child actors and make sure no crimes had been committed. When talking with the employees of Warner Brothers, he notes, again, they were very afraid of retaliation from Warner Brothers if they talked to me. Let's read the conclusion in full. In my training and experience, predators often infiltrate families under trusted roles, like Busfield, who, as a producer, exploited the hectic film sets to tickle and touch SL in private areas and mask it as play. He would invite family to offset gatherings with his wife, buying Christmas gifts to foster closeness, making SL feel special and independent, classic grooming to erode boundaries, isolate the victim, and silence suspicion by blending abuse into normalcy. This dual tactic, which is charming parents while secretly violating a child, builds a web of complicity that is hard to unravel, delaying detection as families trust the abuser's facade. The detective says, I discovered Busfield had faced accusations in the past, and that's where we're going to get into this. The first allegation was in '94. A 17-year-old extra on Little Big League told the court that Busfield assaulted her, served her alcohol, groped her, and attempted to get intimate in a trailer. This was denied by Busfield, who actually countersued for extortion. They settled privately, and his later defamation bid was tossed, leaving him to foot nearly $150,000 in costs. No charges were filed. The second allegation, 2012, when a 28-year-old woman accused Busfield of battery in a movie theater, saying that he had groped her for almost 4 minutes. Police took a report under a code, but prosecutors passed due to slim evidence. He called it consensual, no arrest, no lawsuit, file closed. The criminal complaint and arrest warrant affidavit was filed on January 9th, 2026 in Bernalillo County, and charges were brought by the state of New Mexico that day. Those charges, 2 counts of criminal contact of a minor. Those are Class 3 felonies, and there's an additional charge of child abuse in an open count, also a felony. The warrant was then issued, but Busfield didn't immediately surface, and APD couldn't locate him, and things escalated from there. In fact, the U.S. Marshals even got involved. Busfield ultimately surrendered on January 13th, turning himself in at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Albuquerque, but not before providing a statement to TMZ, published before he was booked. And as you will see in a moment, prosecutors didn't really dig that. The following day, on January 14th, prosecutors introduced a new allegation, a teenage girl who reported that several years earlier, during an audition, Busfield kissed her, put his hands down her pants, and assaulted her. The party said he begged the family not to report it and agreed to seek therapy if they stayed quiet. Prosecutors filed an expedited motion for pretrial detention, which I have, so let's get through it. The state argued Busfield should be detained and held without bond. The state lays out the details of the sworn affidavit, pointing out his position of authority over the set and cast. The victim's statements were corroborated by therapy records, medical records, changes in his behavior, crew that had witnessed Busfield's behavior, and the lack of supervision of child actors on set, as well as Busfield's own testimony, which contained contradictions like knowing the kids well enough to get them gifts and hang out with them, but also saying he didn't really know the boys. They argued that due to the seriousness of the potential danger posed and the lines crossed, that no condition or combination of conditions can reasonably mitigate this danger. In addition to his known history, the state brings up Warner Brothers' independent investigation and pictures of the defendant, quote, tickling and caressing the head and bodies of minor boys, obviously drunk. That in September 2024, and I don't know if I skimmed over this in the affidavit, it's possible, Busfield asked a parent to wait outside the office and took VL to a closed door for an audition, which is prohibited. Prior to surrendering, the defendant chose to record and disseminate a video to a national media outlet, TMZ. This conduct demonstrates a willingness to prioritize personal narrative control and public relations over compliance with lawful court processes. Such behavior raises serious concerns that the defendant will comply with court orders only when it suits him, rather than out of respect for judicial authority or the rule of law. Busfield has a history of misconduct over the course of decades. Witnesses are scared of retaliation, and the pathetic investigation performed by an independent investigator, as well as the lack of cooperation by Warner Brothers, enables this misconduct to continue. So at this January 14th hearing, The judge ordered Busfield be held without bond until a full detention hearing January 20th, meaning he remained behind bars and in custody while the court evaluated whether he should stay detained before trial. In the days that followed, the defense submitted a polygraph stating that Busfield passed it and also submitted a 13-person witness list and 75 character letters, and they publicly called the parents con artists. The defense argued that the boy's prior statements in 2024 raised questions about how the allegation started and found no evidence of a pattern in which he violated court orders or probable cause that he would commit new crimes if released. The next major step is the preliminary hearing on January 29th. From there, the focus shifts on the evidence presented at that hearing and how the judge evaluates the competing narratives. If you've made it this far, thanks for sticking with me. I'd love to hear your thoughtful takes on the case, the filings, or anything else that stood out to you. Drop your comments below, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, consider subscribing and please like the video. And remember that sharing is caring. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.